With Kaiser realizing that his new playing style doesn't really require Ness, the magician finds himself with his back against the wall. Will this push Ness towards an awakening? Will this be a fuel for the German midfielder to reach new heights? Or will his mind succumb to the loss of his friend and crumble under the pressure? Or better yet, will other players capitalize on his defeat? Well, that's what we are going to discuss today, as we answer the biggest question on the bastard side. Will this be a wake-up call for Ness, or is this Igaguri's last chance? Now, to start talking about this whole subject, I gotta confess, lately I have been really enjoying Blue Lock. Despite the few setbacks, especially with holding off on Ren, the writer is actually pulling his A game with this match. And in my eyes, this game is already the best in the Neo Egoist League. This is in part due to the amazing writing of Ness and Kaiser's backstory, as well as Kaiser's new style, him discovering himself from zero, and his evolution. Now, this was expected given that we've got their backstory before the game, and usually this is a technique for the writer to hype certain characters by displaying their backstory and why they are the way they are before engaging in their most critical game. We've seen this done before in the U20 game with Rin and recently with Hiyori in the Ubers game. But now it's actually all about Kaiser and Ness. Now I have already went over Kaiser's evolution in great detail and depth in my video about the beauty of character writing in Blue Lock. And so today it's all about Ness. Now at first I really hated Ness. In fact, admit it, we all did. He seemed like a guy with no backbone fiending for Kaiser's approval, and so no one really liked him. However, as I've always said, the writer has his way of turning things around when it comes to his characters. Either by having them improve greatly like we've seen with Baro, or by showing us their sad backstory that explains their persona, like Kuon before and now Ness, or hell, even a mixture of both like we've seen with Kaiser. And when it comes to our magician, after witnessing his backstory, we now understand that Ness is actually a soft person, he's very caring, he's very gentle, yet he found himself in such a competitive field, and found himself surrounded by only maniacs. And so, holding tightly to the guy that showed him hope in this ruthless environment is all that Ness has. And in fact, as I said before, every major character in Blue Lock serves a purpose. And so Ness represents the good-hearted people who are struggling and are just trying to desperately hang onto life. However, on this topic of every major character serving a purpose, or even trying to hang for dear life, there is a character that is having it even worse than Ness. Enter Igaguri. Now I actually understand that speaking about Ness is far more important than Igaguri. However, I've seen him quite a lot in comments and throughout the community, and so it fits that we mention him here. And besides, Ness still has the World Cups to awaken, however this is Igaguri's last chance. And so I will talk about Igaguri first, and then finish the video talking deeply about Ness's evolution and what could that mean for us. And so, I actually want you guys to bear with me here, and suppose Ness breaks down, and Noah has no other choice but to sub him out. As we all know, Noah is very rational, and so any irrationality on the pitch is easily sapped out. And actually I have some reasoning into why Igaguri is the chosen one, despite Noah having far better players like Yuki. And that's actually him training with Kiora while Noah was watching. This kinda indicates that he was hoping for these two to level up in order to play, as this is the last game, while for example players like Nero, who actually are on Yuki's level, aren't really shown and they don't even seem to have a chance of playing. And so I think since these are the last moments of the game, this is Igaguri's chance. Otherwise, why would the writer shown us that he is training with Kiora? That doesn't really make any sense. However, enough of this, let's ask the real question. If Igaguri gets subbed in, what can he even do? He's actually so trash, he's so bad, he looks like Isagi without his mind, without his adaptability, and without his weapons. And we kinda got this situation with Raichi. Hell, Raichi is far better than Igaguri, yet he still struggled a lot in the Ubers game. However, before we answer that, let's answer the first question. Since every character serves a purpose, what is the purpose of Igaguri? And I know a lot of you guys might say that he is a comedic relief. And to that I would say, even if I entertain the idea, he is failing miserably at even that. And so let's take this question a little bit more seriously and really think about it. Well, I think Igaguri serves the purpose of the Homer of the story. Not in the comedic way Homer, but actually in the guy that somehow always makes it. You know it guys, I assume in every community there is that guy who just isn't good enough but always makes it out even if he is last. The fact of the matter is, he is always there, despite the obvious flaws he has. And to actually make this image a little bit more appealing, I would suggest you guys watch the Simpsons episode labeled Homer's Enemy. There, this subject is very laid out.
Look, Homer, I'm late for my night job at the foundry, so if you don't mind telling me... Good heavens! This is a palace! How in the world can you afford to live in a house like this, Simpson?
I don't know. Don't ask me how the economy works.
No matter where and no matter what, there are some people that will always get by just barely, and sometimes they don't even have to put a lot of effort into that, they just do. And since the writer wants to teach us about success, I think Igaguri serves the purpose of the last guy perfectly, the Homer of Blue Lock. And now that we actually know what his role is in the story, we can get to talk about what he can even do. Well, first, his weapon is kinda unique, and this is another reason why I think he would play. His weapon is actually tricking his opponent into fouling him. Well, not technically fouling him, but making it seem as if they fouled him, and then capitalizing on that by either gaining the possession back or give his teammates a breather. And so on this topic, if Igaguri is ever to prove himself, it's not going to be with a direct pass towards the scorer or by scoring himself. Rather, he will be a utility tool for the team. He would either grant the team a penalty which they would score to win, or he might even thwart PXG plans by making them commit a lot of fouls. I know this is far-fetched, and it's totally not rational, and so I don't even think if Noah would entertain this idea. However, this is the best we could do, and Igaguri kinda got his moments before the game, and so something is telling me that he might play. But I need you guys to take everything I've said about him with a grain of salt. I might be wrong completely. And so with that, it's actually better for us to get back to Ness. Now, as they say, real men are forged by adversity. It's adversity that builds character. It's adversity that makes us move forward. This is what Ego referred to in the second selection by the crossroads. It's when you find yourself in such a situation that is so tough that you need to immediately make a life-altering decision. This is kinda how Baro found himself in the second selection, as I said, but also we've seen it before with Ryo. When Nagi got rid of him, he actually developed his unique chameleon style, and I'm willing to bet that that's the best version of Ryo. I think him playing with Nagi is just hurting him. As for Ness, who is currently in an existential crisis, what can he do now that he lost his striker? Now, Blue Lock has always been about getting past the emotional blockades and achieving success, and so what would that look like for Ness? Well, to be honest, first, I'd like to start with some wishful thinking. I don't want Ness to break down, even though we still have the World Cups for him to improve and to reach his potential. I want it here. It makes sense for it to happen here. Otherwise, it would be just the Nagi-Ryo situation, and that's definitely a repetition that I would not like to see. And so the only option that is left for us is for Ness to wipe his tears and man up, and actually work towards being the midfielder that he's always been destined to be. And so let's straight up ask the question, what would his awakening be like? Well, recently I've made a video about Charles' new ocular ability and how broken it is. But most importantly, I described and explained how it is separated and unique from metavision. And so what is this vision? Well, briefly, it is kind of the predator eyes for the midfielder. It is an eye type that helps you better find the best passing option in that current situation. We obviously have seen this from Charles, but I also theorized that we've seen it before from Sai. And actually, Ness acquiring this type of vision makes more sense than you would think. Now, I don't think that he would get metavision, however, there is a seed for it. In chapter 265, he was able to snatch the loose ball that not even Karasu, Rin, or Hiyori anticipated to be there. And that's definitely given me the metavision feels. However, that's his only feat, and I'm not willing to bet on it. And honestly, I think metavision is overused already, and so we don't really need another character that can use it. And obviously, this leaves us with the Charles type of vision. And in fact, we got seeds for this type of vision in the same scene. When Ness was trying to pass for Kaiser, he was visualizing how would the perfect pass be for him, and he took into account the defenders, and of course he took into consideration how it would land for Kaiser for him to shoot his best shot. And obviously this immediately takes my mind towards Hiyori. Hiyori is the exact opposite of this. We've seen throughout the games so far, Hiyori passes for the best option regardless of who's the player he's passing towards. As you can see here, Ness actually tries to make it very easy for the striker because he actually cares, while Hiyori just makes the perfect pass regardless of anyone. And in complete contrast to this is Sai and Charles, who actually pulled the best out of Shido and visualized what would be the best pass towards him. And that's definitely insane and makes me really hopeful that Ness would get this type of eyes, as it would catapult him towards new heights. But this also fits with his whole persona. Ness has always been a caring boy. Ness has always been soft-hearted, and so it makes total sense for him to be the one to actually understand the striker better than anyone. Better yet, be the one to actually push the striker towards his best performance. But alright, now that we established what Ness's awakening would be like, who would he actually pass to? And you know what? Let's have some fun with it. Let's start with the farthest theory, which is him passing to actually Kunigami or Noah if he gets subbed in. Now, this obviously is far-fetched, however wouldn't it make so much sense for Ness to actually not have a king and pass for Kunigami just to screw Kaiser and Isagi over? But of course it remains a far-fetched theory. A more believable theory, however, would actually take us back to Hiyori and Ness. Think about it, guys. Isagi said that he thrives in freedom where his options are limitless. This is why Corona worked so well, because Corona presented him with so many options. And also off topic, but funny enough, the writer actually alluded to this in the Manshine City game, where Noah told him that he is actually very greedy and needs to tone his options to the most rational ones. But anyways, back to Ness. With him and Hiyori by Isagi's side, Isagi would have infinite possibilities. First, from Corona's side, he would be a shadow to Isagi that always gives Isagi a breather. Second is Hiyori. Hiyori represents the perfect pass, the best pass if it ever came. And as I said, this pass is easily countered by, for example, Rin or Shido. And so, the third option, which would be Ness, who would give Isagi passes that are actually tailored towards him. And honestly, that would be really insane and really beautiful to see. However, I wouldn't like it for Ness to actually just follow him blindly, but rather for Ness to be rational. Isagi right now is the most rational option, and so he goes with him. And also this goes for Kunigami too. If Isagi and Kaiser are marked, Kunigami becomes the best and the most rational option. But anyways, we actually have a small confirmation for Ness working with Isagi, which is at the end of the Ubers game, where Ness confessed that he felt magic from Isagi, and he is mesmerized by him. And that's definitely a great indication. However, there is always the big counter argument. Ness hates Isagi's guts, especially now after ruining his relationship with Kaiser, and so I don't know if he would ever pass to him. But finally, we have the weakest theory, and funny enough, it's pretty fun too. What I'm talking about is actually Ness being stubborn, awakening, and still passing for Kaiser. This could be as Ness adapting to Kaiser, or it could be that Kaiser presents at that moment the most rational option, and so Ness doesn't really care and just passes to him. And finally, Ness knows Kaiser better than anyone, and so if Kaiser finds himself in a pickle, it would be Ness and no one other than Ness that would get him out of there. However, with this, I think this is enough for one video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and tell me what do you think in the comments. Do you agree with any of my theories? With that being said, until next time, thank you for watching.